Hey friends, I just had a lesson with a student and it was one of those ones where I heard myself saying to them exactly what I kind of need to hear. And I've found this to be true again and again in the teaching process. It's one of the reasons why I love pedagogy. I love teaching because our students will reveal, without fail, they will reveal what we need to look at in ourselves, what we need to come across. It doesn't mean that they're going to manifest the same issues that we have, although that can also happen. But more often than not, it means that in offering our student the right remedy for where they are, the right remedy or the right practice, we brush up against, if not just dive straight into, something that we ourselves also are in need of. And I keep seeing it happen again and again. It never fails. Over time, it's 100% accurate. We will be invited into the territory that we need to explore. And so that's why, it also means, this student in particular that I was working with today, I noticed one or two sessions ago, I just noticed that her heart kind of wasn't fully in what we were doing, right? That was my first observation. And I had kind of observed it before. I'd noticed that, like, we would work on something, and even when there seemed to be some understanding or a little bit of a spark of, like, okay, I get this, I get what I need to do, I get what I want to do, it was never really wholehearted. And then a lesson or two ago, I just named that. I was like, well, it seems like this isn't that important to you, and so maybe what if we do something else? It was just like but I noticed myself, I when I worked with my piano teacher Madeline in a teacher training course a year and a half ago or so, up until about a year ago, I guess, one of my big takeaways, one of the things I realized by teaching while under scrutiny, right? That's what a teacher training course is. You're teaching, but you're being observed while you're teaching. And so not only are you feeling that observation, all of a sudden our teaching is not just happening in the relationship with the student, it's also being observed from over here. And we're feeling that presence of, like, okay, now there's observation of the teaching process that's independent of the student's observation of that process. And then, because Madeline being who she is and the other participants being who they were, I got great feedback on my teaching and on what I was doing. And one of my huge takeaways was that when I would feel like the student either wasn't getting something or wasn't resonating with the way I was expressing something, my impulse is to talk faster and say more and describe the thing again from a slightly different perspective. It's almost like I'm trying to find a way of expressing it that matches it matches their signature of how their mind wants to receive it. But it's all happening from within my mind. that's the thing that's the thing that I learned from being observed in this way, was like, I'm just kind of like running a particular version of how I present something to a student. And if I can tell it's not landing, I run the same program again with a slightly different twist, or add a little sprinkle of this in there, and then run the program again, see what happens. And it spoiler alert, doesn't really work that great. So what I learned from that was that when I do that, when I'm doing that, I learned to feel what that feels like energetically, to feel what it feels like when I'm trying to generate the momentum that I want the student to ultimately feel in their work. I'm trying to generate that from inside myself. I now notice it, and every time it happens, I go, wait a minute, I'm doing that thing again. Let me just take a breath, settle. Be available for what the student is feeling, because what is happening when I'm going into the running the same pattern over and over again is I can tell that either something is uncomfortable in the student or something's not landing. There's a part of me, my ego, is going, maybe the student is not liking the way I'm teaching, or something is wrong, let me fix it. And again, if that's all just like my mind trying to come up with a new answer that'll work better, very rarely do I hit do I strike gold with that. Much more effective is settling and then hearing where the student is, and that's what happened the other day, 2 or 3 lessons ago. I was like, I don't think that I'm explaining this wrong. I don't think that I just haven't described how to practice this Schubert impromptu or whatever piece we were looking at. I don't think this is a problem of my inability to come up with reliable ways of practicing this piece. I think the problem is that's not the work we really want to be doing, and especially she really wants to be doing. What if I just let that be okay and see what arises in me when I let that be okay? And there's always a thing as a teacher, there's always that thing of like, well, if they don't want to learn this, then maybe they don't need me, don't want me, or they don't want to study with me anymore. There's always that element of like, and again, this is not something that tortures me. It's just like I notice it as a voice in my head. What if she doesn't want to work with me anymore? That's the thing that you wonder as a teacher when you can tell that the thing that we're doing is not resonating. So we have to kind of be able to say, that's fine too, and let it be okay, not make a problem out of that, because then we can see maybe what actually the person needs and the person actually wants. And in this case, it was like, boom, all of a sudden we're into exploring our own music, her own music, letting her own musical inspiration guide her, playing something and just looking at it from taking something super simple it comes out of a free improvisation, and taking some basic steps of how to expand on that, how to develop it. And today it was a really fun lesson. We found an even more inspiring. We added to the approach and found an even more inspiring access point through the voice, using the voice to kind of channel inspiration before we even think about putting it onto the keyboard. And all of a sudden we're up and running on a really fun, what feels like a really fun creative project for her. And I say all of this both because it was a really successful and fun session, but also because, as I started out by saying, it points me in the direction of the work I really want to be doing. I really love doing that kind of work. There's almost nothing I love more. And so my student just invited me into the world that I also want to be living in. You know, by listening to what was really going on for her, I also heard what was really going on for me, and bam, now she's in another place and I am also in another place. So that was just fun to watch. It was just really fun to watch, and really kind of a joy to let that arise, and to now kind of let it marinate a little bit in me. Let it see, okay, I've awakened something. I want to bring this back into the, back into focus in my own creative work. So yeah, good day. Can't ask for more than that out of a day of teaching. Thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Have a wonderful day. I'll see you soon.